Hey, hey.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Happy Bosses and Breakfast Day.
Happy Wednesday.
I know. And guess what? I am actually prepared this morning to go live on Instagram quite
Oh,
quickly.
same. I mean, still tangled up, but I have my phone here.
What are we, professionals?
Well, until we can't get on there, so let's not jinx ourselves.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I am going to go live on Instagram. Say hello as you're joining us. Let us know where you are in the world. And we're actually going to be on time on Instagram. So
Okay. Oh, there's so many people going live right now.
hey, product bosses, it's Bosses and Breakfast. Mina's going to join me, and we're really excited to talk about a lot of things today. We've got our holiday workshop series up, but we're going to talk about timing. We're going to talk about back to school. We're going to talk about our schedules. There's a lot that we are going to discuss today. So we're so excited for you to join, and I'll wait for Mina to request to go live with us. There she is from the Shop 1 in 5 account. And if you haven't followed us yet, make sure to follow the Instagram account at Shop1in5 as well. Good morning, Lacey and Copper Union and Girly Girl Designs.
Hey,
Hi.
Sharon. Hey, Emily. Good morning, everybody. Okay. Online. Good morning. Hello from Iowa,
Hello from New Jersey.
New Jersey.
So let's just talk about my coffee really fast. I'll tell you how
Okay.
desperate I was. So I've
Okay.
already had 2 cups today.
Oh my gosh. Why so many?
I was up early working on things. I don't know. I was playing
Uh-huh.
Candy Crush. I needed a coffee.
Two is why so many. But still early.
But I was just trying to fill up my cup for Bosses and Breakfast, and I'm pouring, and there was this much coffee left. So I was like, "Where's my old cup?" So I went and found that and dumped it in, and then I saw James's old cup of just black coffee, and I dumped his old coffee in because I was like, "I need more coffee." So that's how desperate I was for coffee for this morning. So here's my gathered together coffee and coffee cup.
And when we were together in Washington D.C., there was Nespresso machines in our hotel rooms, which was really nice. We always stay with each other, but this was the first time ever Jacqueline and I have stayed separately because we worked out of her. She had a whole bunch of the work stuff for the product boss in her suite. So we would gather there as a team, and then I would go to my separate room. There wasn't a suite that had 2 beds, essentially. I mean, one of us would have to sleep on the pull-out couch,
And none of us were sleeping on the pull-out couch.
neither was willing. And so I got my own room with my own stuff and everything. And there was an espresso machine. And I was like, this is really nice. I'd get up, make a little Nespresso, do my makeup, throw my stuff everywhere. Usually I try to be considerate of Jacqueline. But this time I was like, as messy as can be per usual. And so it was different, but it was nice. And but yeah, we did miss each other. We spent a lot of time with each other, but it was weird at night not having the other person, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I stayed up and watched the Olympics till the middle of the night. I mean, I don't know about any of you, but I have not been by myself in 2 years, I think, because when Mina and I did see each other, we'd sleep in the same room together because why not? It's fun, right?
Yeah.
And otherwise we've all been with our families more than we ever have. So I don't know the last time I traveled by myself and actually was in a bedroom by myself for an entire night. So it was very hard to sleep. I went through the entire series of Sex Life. I watched, middle of the night Olympics. Mina was like watching. What were you watching?
Oh, The Vault. It's a different movie, which, by the way, if you guys are all Grace and Frankie fans, their new episodes. Yeah, it's back, but there was only 4 episodes. And I was just like, what?
They're product bosses.
Yeah, they are.
They've invented 2 products. Yeah.
They talk about the Rise Up in this one, which is like the toilet they invented.
Yeah.
But it's so good. And then the first night that we were going away from each other, sleeping in separate beds, which we stayed up. I got there at like 9:00 Washington, D.C. time.
Yeah.
And we stayed up till, I don't know, like 12:30, midnight, something, or 1:00, something like that, talking. Lauren was fast asleep. She go to sleep at 9 p.m. type of person. So it was hard on her, I think, staying up so late. We ended up staying up till 1, and then I'm leaving the room and Jacqueline's like, I'll miss you. And I'm like, you'll be fine.
Like, I don't know what to do by myself.
She stayed up like so long.
I took baths. There was like a really amazing bath. I took baths and watched like Housewives. I was just like living my best life, sleeping in the middle of the bed with your arms out. I don't know. What do you all love to do? Like if you were in a hotel room, like what would be your favorite thing in there? I mean, I think watching TV by myself and taking late night baths. Now, I should have probably gone to sleep earlier because we were so busy, but I think when we're together too, I get super hyped up, like
Oh yeah,
on adrenaline. And then we
for
crash
sure.
and we come home.
For sure.
And then I saw someone on here from Lackawanna, New York. I have driven through Lackawanna. I always thought it was such a good name. And then she's upstate. Lauren is my kind of person. I need to be asleep by 9:30 or I turn into a pumpkin. Yeah. And then we have Jennifer, who's Pacific Standard Time, who's up as she's another team member and she's up as early as Lauren, who's East Coast time. So what is that? Like 3 a.m., 4 a.m.,
Something
like
crazy.
Pacific Standard. And then she's like, yeah, and I go to bed at 10:30. So we're like, well, you're basically working 24 hours. Like
Yeah.
she's just awake all the time.
Yeah. Which brings us to a lot to like what we're talking about is kind of like schedule. Because another thing that Lauren did during that time is that she wakes up early and she runs 5 miles, which I'm not even sure if anybody in the whole world does it. Like that's what a phenomenon it feels like to me.
Lauren is the only human being in the entire world who wakes up early and actually works out, at least in our world.
Yeah. Like, oh wow, 5 miles, huh?
Do you all wake up early? Does anyone here wake up early and work out before their kids get up? When do you all work out? Does anyone? I also am not sure if anyone actually works out.
And what by workout, it could be anything, moving your body, going for a walk, some sort of thing that you're, being active.
Yes, Amanda Lee's like, LOL, no.
Yeah, well, Amanda Lee has a,
Baby.
I don't know, like a 6-month-old or something like that. So you have an excuse until they're like 3 years old.
Stina over here on Instagram says, my husband and I have been waking up at 4:30 a.m. to work out before our son wakes up or works out. And that's what my husband today. Oh, I got so mad at him. If you're watching, James, you know this, so it's not like a thing. But our kids, our kids wake up at 7 and then the bus for camp comes at 8. And so we really only have an hour plus like everyone's slowly getting out of bed and stuff. And James and I we haven't been waking up before our kids because we've been going to bed late. So he's like up. And he's in the kitchen and I'm like scrambling at these kids, like yelling at them, get dressed, eat your breakfast. You need to brush your teeth. You gotta leave the house.
Chaotic.
It is. It's like prepping for school, which we're going to talk about. And then meanwhile, he's cooking his eggs because he's on this like diet to get back in shape for Broadway. And like he's making his eggs and he's like pouring his coffee. And I was like, so when the kids go to school, we may have to eat breakfast either before they wake up or when they leave. And he's like, I think mom's telling me that like I'm leisurely having my breakfast while she's running around like a crazy person.
Yeah.
And like, you don't think I'm hungry currently? So we definitely are going to need to rework our schedules, which is a little bit of what we want to talk to you all about today, because we had our live yesterday in our free workshop series where we were talking about time and we help people really create their to-do list and to get more done. How many of you have signed up for the free workshop series? Let us know in the comments. Say, yes, I have. I'd love to know. And if it's a no, say no, because we will drop that link in. And if you haven't done it, head to rockyourholidaypromotions.com / it's theproductboss.com/free.
Theproductboss.com/free is how you can get all signed up. You do need to get signed up in order to get the worksheets that come with the workshops, and they are amazing because the goal for all of this is that you work through it with us, so then you're not off trying to figure it out on your own, and that you can be with us in these live workshops, having fun, getting the energy of each other, and getting geared up for the holiday season. So the worksheets, we do them in real time while you're in the sessions with us.
Which is why it's a workshop, because we're helping you work through it so that you don't you don't feel like you have a lot of homework or anything like that after. I'm actually putting this on Instagram. It's theproductboss.com/free. We've changed it because it was a little bit hard to go by before. And if you're on Facebook, you can just click the link. And there is the replay. So we talked about time and to-do lists. And a lot of the conversation when people were asking us questions was kind of like the whole idea of back to school. And let me tell you, Mina and I both we homeschooled our children last year. They did not go to school one bit.
I didn't homeschool. I virtual school.
But they were home. They never went. They never left the house.
They did not ever
PJs all day. and all
Yeah.
night. No. And our kids, we ended up pulling from school, homeschooling, and you all know we traveled throughout the year. So we're really, her and I are like trying to wrap our heads around gearing back up for back to school and what
Yeah.
that's going to look like, because childcare is going to look different, at least for our families. Our daughters, our youngest, they skipped kindergarten and are going straight to first grade. So there's a little bit of anxiety around like that kindergarten transition time into elementary school versus first grade, and them having to like, take care of themselves without us. And then there's the balance, right? There's the work-life balance and how to kind of maintain that. Like, what are our non-negotiables? How do we want to spend time with our families? What time are we working within? Like, do we have a cap on the hours that we're working? And then also being flexible. So if something happens at school, like they can't go to school, there's a quarantine, it's stay-at-home orders, like whatever it is, we have to kind of just be ready to kind of dip in and dip out, dip in and dip out, and be flexible, which as entrepreneurs, we're all very flexible. So that's something that we wanted to talk about with all of you today. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think for, schedules are, somebody was like saying, a new schedule is a lot. It is a lot, but I think the key here really is what Jacqueline was talking about is pre-planning. So you plan for your schedule so it's not chaotic, and you stay fluid. The thing that I'm doing, I'm having a lot of nervousness and anxiety with my daughter going to first grade because she was home with us for kindergarten. She's my baby. And, she's not like my older daughter who's like very structured, very responsible, loves school, loves learning. She's a wild spirit. I don't know, not the greatest listener, though she's like very creative, very, she moves to the beat of her own drum, so she's very bold and very talkative. And so it just makes me kind of nervous, this whole thing, because I don't know if she'll love school because she's never seen school in this sort of way. And she wasn't in daycare really before that either. I mean, she was, but she doesn't even remember it. Like we don't, she doesn't remember it at all. So I'm a little bit anxious about the whole entire thing. So they start on Monday. And what I'm doing is I'm sitting down thinking about my schedule, and I'm doing it in a little bit of a silo for September. So while September, October, November, December, it's hard to really think out really far and stay fluid at the same time. So while I am thinking about that for my business, for my home life, I'm really thinking about September and seeing, okay, how will this go? And then will I continue to do it this way? So right now we aren't doing aftercare. My husband is going to be picking up the kids and with the help of my dad, so I can keep working at the same time that they do pickups. And then, so that'll be transition time. I haven't figured out food or home care or anything like that. Like, I feel like with Jacqueline and myself, our busy season is this coming up season, just like for all of you. Like I have low labels, school starting, all the things. I'm in it right now. And so I think it's really helpful when you try to section off your planning. So the big transition month is September. So section that off and see what you can do. And then October, November, December, just make sure you get prepared for that. Like 100% order your supplies that you need. We talked about this in the workshop yesterday. Get ahead of the whole thing. 100% start to think about your holiday promotions with us starting in September and figuring that out. And then just start, dipping your toe into it, but really plan for that. You need more time in September to get acclimated. What does this new transition look like as your kids are in school? Who knows if they're staying in school, like what happens if the world shuts down,
Yeah. Which Kaylee, who's a teacher, she's on live. She said her school has shut down for 2 weeks. So here's the thing. Last year in March, when schools got shut down, none of us were expecting it, right? Then we all, it was like a collective, holy moly, what's happening? People were like, how am I going to be with my children this long? Versus, homeschool parents were like, this is easy. It's great. So
this is easy. I don't know if they said easy.
They're like, look at all the things I balanced. My beautiful life.
They felt more prepared.
Yes. They had been doing it. And we had been doing Zoom for so long that we knew how to run our business, on Zoom, for example.
That's right.
Now we are all now experienced, my grandma orders her groceries on Instacart. So we all now have these other experiences that we're sort of forced into, and that we get to collectively put those together and say, how do we want how do we want this all to work? Like, how do we want this season to work? I love what Mina said, because what we do, those of you who sign up for Multi-Stream Machine, there's a pay in full bonus. Some of you, many of you, actually, probably like 80% of you have the painful bonus, which is the 90-day roadmap, which we help you plan your next 90 days basically for thinking through your business. And the reason we specifically do it, and we do it quarterly, is as entrepreneurs and as business owners, things change all the time, right? We have to stay flexible. We have to stay on our toes. Sure, you can plan out the next 6 months or the next year, but things change all the time. And I love what Mina's saying about really focusing on even like the next 30 days, especially in big transition times, because I'm guilty of this and she knows this. When my husband goes back to work in October, I'm already freaking out about who's going to take care of the kids. I don't want a babysitter in the house. Like, what do I do? And so, Heartland Lettering said, Sarah said the 90-day roadmap is gold. But so we can plan, but we have to be flexible. And so this idea right now of the 30 days, thinking about the 30 days, how are we going to transition into it? What do you need to do to feel the most prepared? Right now, if you do have kids and they're going back to school, then there's all the back to school stuff, right? And that transition time, and give yourself grace. Fortunately, as product bosses, it's not the busiest month ever. Sales will pick up and things will happen, but you still have this like runway time of preparation. And that's what we really want you to do, which is why we've started this workshop series so early in August, is really starting to get our heads wrapped around that. The flexibility, the planning, so that you feel planned. Someone had said that they took the workshop yesterday and she's already figured out her calendar and pre-ordered and bulk ordered supplies.
Amazing.
Yeah. So please go to that workshop. Please listen to it, because it's really going to help you think through, what do I need to do right now to prep for it? But giving yourself that grace also for like the 30-day transition time. And, it might be, we may all have to be working almost like day to day. And what we talked about yesterday was the plans of your A, B, and C of vendors, for example. Sarah from Heartland Lettering, we worked with her for years. She's famous in the product boss world. During COVID, she ran out of bottle tops for her soap dispensers. She sells soap dispensers. She needed the tops. So with that, then when we worked with her, because she's a student in Multi-Stream Machine, she's a masterminder, we really talked about, okay, well, where's your A supplier? Where's your B supplier? Where's your C supplier? Like, we need to have backups to our backups.
Yeah.
So do that for personal and do that for work, right? Just be prepared.
Yeah, for sure. Even with Sarah, she was building a house at that time. Well, the house kept getting delayed because just imagine the supply chain on building a house, right? We all know that right now lumber is really expensive. Everything is delayed. So make sure you get ahead of it. The reason why we keep saying, like, I want you all to remember we're saying flexible and being fluid, but do it in the way of being proactive about it and not reactive about it. So a lot of people, what happens is that chaos ensues because they haven't prepared enough and they have to react to everything that's happening to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really hard. You have to make decisions on the fly. You have to kind of like, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a big, chaotic wound, And so when you are more proactive about it, you plan it, and then you're able to like minimize the chaos a bit. And then you're like, okay, I'm proactively figuring out what is going to happen and what could be done. That's why you have contingency plans, because this could happen. And if this were to happen, then I don't have to think about it. I know where to go in this case, and I just took that extra half hour out of my day, 2 months previous to figure it out, for example.
Yeah. So exactly. And someone said, where can I find the workshop again? Head to theproductboss.com/free. We made it really easy to sign up. It's totally free. And we're helping you with time, scaling, and focus. So the get your to-do list done and like the method that we taught yesterday was a 6-step process. You can catch the replay. All the replays go away by September 5th. So make sure to sign up. When you do, you get the workbook. The one next Tuesday is going to be about scaling your handmade business. But really, even if you're not handmade, come still, because it's the idea of you not being the bottleneck in your business or the only person doing it. Because a lot of times when we think about scaling our businesses, we think like, there's no more of me to give, right? How do I actually scale if there's no more of me? And then the last workshop is really going to be on focus. What are you going to focus on for the holiday season? Which leads us into Rock Your Holiday Promotions Challenge, where we're going to help you build out your promotions in 5 days. So it's incredible. We're going to have so much fun with you in the next month. So back to what Mina's talking about, that preparation, right? Being proactive in that preparation. We have a friend right now who's in the Cayman Islands and they're being hit by a tropical storm. It's her very first storm. I lived in Florida.
So scary.
Yeah, I lived in Florida, so I know about the hurricanes and tropical storms, which is why I don't live in Florida anymore.
Among other reasons.
Yeah, Mina lives in tornado place. Like, so for people who are not used to that weather, and so she's like, oh yeah, I got prepared, and then she's going live today and talking about, thank goodness I was prepared. You don't want to be caught in the middle of the storm without being prepared. And so this is going to be personal and this is going to be business. We're only able to help you on the business side and to really think about your timing. And then for the personal side, have your backups to your backups. Start getting the plan now. Think about one thing that Mina and I have been talking about is what time do we want to be done working to be with our kids after school? Our kids are older now. They need help with homework. We want to spend time with them.
And we're in 2 different time zones.
Her and I, at least we're only an hour apart now because before we were 3 hours. I don't know how many hours. So we're in different time zones. So our hours have to shift, right? Like it might be a bit earlier in the day and ending earlier in the day than normal. Yeah. The other thing that I've been thinking about is giving myself grace as well, as like, if there is a deadline, if you get a lot of orders, if there's a lot happening and I'm like, okay, every day I pick my kids up at 3:30, for example, then if I need to, I have snack and I let them watch TV and I get the work that I need done, right? My eyes twitching actually telling you this right now. It's my tell sign.
Yeah.
Stressful.
I do have another tip too for all of that as well.
Yeah. But that's the thing, right? It's like, it's being okay with it. And Mina and I talked about TV because sometimes I feel guilty about how much TV or screen time do they get. And I'm like, there's going to be a lot of parenting for me on my own when James goes back to work. For those of you that are new here, he's a Broadway actor and he is Harry Potter in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Harry Potter's 40 years old. But he's got a huge Broadway show that he's in and he has to go back to rehearsal and then his schedule is different. So if I'm kind of parenting on my own and I don't have family here and I'm not comfortable yet for like extra help in the house during this time with COVID, if TV is my sitter, fine. If my kids are sitting there on screens and I'm on screens, fine.
I will tell you, we all have different guilt about different things. I have no guilt about screen time or TV. As long as they do well in school and that, they can't watch certain videos, even on YouTube, like I monitor that. But the thing is that I grew up with my grandparents. A lot of my grandparents, my parents were always working, and me and my sisters, we watched TV all day long. We weren't allowed to go outside. We weren't allowed to like do a lot of things because, little Asian girls in Iowa, for example, like even watching fireworks, we had to watch them from the indoors. They were very, very strict and protective of us. And so I don't have any guilt about screen time because I'm like, they did the best that they could. I'm doing the best that I can. And it was fine. It turned out just fine, Yeah. And so,
Indoor Kids Unite Gallery.
That's amazing. So one of the things that I've been realizing too, that's kind of overflowed from like a business tip to personal, is that the prep and the speaking. So for example, I've been having a really hard time wrapping my mind around sending my youngest to school. So I've been preparing her and preparing myself. So for example, I've been talking to her about, this is how you wipe your butt, essentially. This is where you go to the bathroom.
That's a major problem for us.
Yeah. So, like we all spiral out in our own ways. And I'm saying like, Aaron goes to the same school. That's her cousin. And you won't see him. He's not in the same class, but you might see him in the hallway or in recess. So all these things where I'm pep talking her, getting her acclimated to the situation. And I think Jacqueline had to do that a bit for Oliver going to camp, for example. They have the same amount of uncertainty as you do. Like one of the things I talked to them about is some kids will have masks and some kids won't. but it's okay that, you have one on and you try your best, like even talking about certain things. So they're like, oh, I get it. I understand. And they feel less uncertain about all the things. And so tomorrow we have meet the teacher night. So we're going to walk them. We're not, parents aren't allowed in the first day to go inside. So we'll have to teach them to go inside themselves, like where to go. And so, I think that that's something that Jacqueline and I do naturally for our product bosses. We're always encouraging. I feel like we're always like, you can do this, get yourself prepared, blah, blah, blah. But I've realized that it actually helps me and helps my kids when I do that in my personal life too. I'm like, you can do it. Holiday season is coming up for school time,
But that's the thing, right? That's preparedness. That's why
Yeah.
we did do the workshop series. Like, this is brand
It's
new.
communication,
Yeah. It's like going through the motions. It's starting to think through it. Sometimes some of us take action really fast, and sometimes some of us need it to kind of like percolate a bit to
Yes.
then enact. Just the idea of talking through it is helpful. And so this is something that's coming up for us with this transition into the school year, especially coming out of a year that, a year and a half, I don't know how long it's been at this point, but where our kids were fully home with us and we were able to do it. And then there was the summer of like flex and then going back to school. So how about all of you? Are any of you feeling the stress of this back to school time? Are there any questions that you have for us that we can help answer? You drop it in the comments on Instagram. There's that little question circle box thingy that you can click and then drop in a question. We'd love to kind of talk to you today about timing, about this sort of back to school time of transition, and also the flexibility of all of us having flexibility in our schedules, having, also for those of you who have teams, you're also going to want to think through it again on what do you do? What do you do with teams if like things get shut down again, right? If masks have to be back on where you live, like in New Jersey where I am, like it's we're masked. Schools are masked, everything's masked, right? And then there's other places it's not. And depending on where you fit into that, you just want to think through, like one thing we've worked with our students and our masterminders is like, can you take stuff that like, let's say someone helps you make, can stuff go to their house and they make it there and they drop it back off for you? So really kind of starting to think through this again. And as long as you have a plan and a backup plan, you'll be okay. And remember that, we all just went through a crazy year and we were all flexible and we've all, navigated our way through it.
Yeah. And it's just because it's the uncertainty of going back after a pandemic year. And I think, it feels a little bit more scary because of that. And then, being inside of a school for the first time, like an actual in-person school, I think that's why I'm nervous. But, everybody has their own version of what that looks like for the end of the year. Sometimes it, like even if you don't have kids, you'll have holiday season, right? You'll have orders that you're getting from people. You'll have, what things are you going to be selling? What supplies aren't you able to get? There's just going to be a lot of transition, even throughout the world because of the timing of everything.
Yeah. So there's no questions right now, but oh, Elaine's like, my kids have been back to school for a month and it's crazy how much I get done without them in the house. I have to pick them up, drop them off. So I had to learn to be very strict with my time, 8 to 3. Yeah. Elaine, what she's doing is exactly saying like, when's my start time and when's my end time? We worked on this in the workshops yesterday, but what are the things that you're going to commit to for yourself? So there's personal self-care, for example, to build into if you're at 8 to 3, when are you walking or working out? Are you getting up before your kids? Are you taking them to school and then working out? And then where is that time that you're going to block in for certain things for work? And we really talked about batching and time blocks. So please go watch that workshop if you haven't already, because it's going to be, you'll be able to connect the dots a bit more for what we're talking about here, because it's just like, you do things in an order and you get a bunch more done versus, what'd you call it? The switching. What was the word you used for switching? Context switching?
Oh yeah. Context switching.
Yeah.
So that's why people really do a lot of batching, is because when you context switch, you lose a bunch of time. Your brain can't keep up with all the context switching. That's why multitasking is actually bad, because you're trying to switch your brain in too many different modes and you're actually not, you're not efficient. Also, you're not like benefiting your body. Your body doesn't like to do that. So
Yeah.
our bodies naturally will do one thing and get into a flow. That's why when you're like in a flow, you're in a flow because you've just batched a whole bunch of stuff. And usually you can do it in preparation and batching it together. Another thing that we went over yesterday in the workshop, so make sure that if you didn't get in there, watch the replay, get the worksheet. But one of the things on the worksheet was your absolute yes list. What is your absolute yes list? So what are the things that you absolutely want and feel pulled to get done by the end of the year? This looks different for everybody. Some people want to create an brand ambassador program. Some people want to get into wholesale. Some people want to get onto a new sales platform. Some people want to come out with a new product or, launch something further like a holiday collection, So there's a whole bunch of different things that you absolutely want to get done and you have to prioritize. So what are the things that if you walked into the new year that you're like, oh, I got those things that I wanted to get done and I'm proud of myself for that?
Mhm. So we're getting a few questions and I'm loving these questions. So one thing is at Leah Crochet over on Instagram said, I don't have kids yet. So my problem is often too much time on my hands with no schedule. Then I panic when I have market or orders coming up. Exactly. So whether or not you have kids, listen, Mina and I ran our businesses without kids for a really long time. And then Hannah had to figure out how to balance it all. Right. But we all have something. And I also used to joke with my sister when she was pregnant and they're like sleeping on the couch. I'm like, all this time that you spend doing that a lot, like will get condensed into hours. Like sometimes you're more efficient, but at Leah Crochet, I would implore, I don't know the word. Please come join the workshop series. Go back to the time one from yesterday. Watch the replay because when you do, it's like a fishbowl. You know how they say like a fish grows as big as like the tank that it's
in,
in,
and a plant too.
Yeah. So what happens is that if you give yourself time constraints. So we're talking about parents with kids going to school and that you have that like 8 to 3, for example. We have our bowl that we have to work within. And so if that sets us up a time, if you don't have that, create that for yourself. Give yourself boundaries on your timing so that you might say like, I want to be done by 4:00 every day. So then I can live your best life, whatever that looks like. Or I want to wake up late because before kids, I used to wake up late. And so I'd start later and I'd end later, but I didn't have anywhere else to be. Maybe I'd go out for cocktails with my friends. It was like a whole other world. So the thing is like, if you can set those boundaries or those bookends to your day, right? Start and end and work within it. And then what we talked about in the workshop yesterday was really figuring out batching and what are you doing on each day? And how do you plan that time through the week?
Yeah. So time blocking is really essential because it takes a lot of discipline. When my husband started working at home, he didn't realize how much discipline you have to be able to work at home because you have to commit to doing something in a certain amount of time. What people do is they end up thinking, I have all day to do this. I have all day. What do I work on? They don't even think about that point. So you do have to create time blocks with select things that you're going to be doing. That's why we encourage batching because then you can set a timer and you can just do it. And then once you get it done, like in that time block, let's say it's the 90 minutes, if you set a timer, then you go for a walk, enjoy yourself. You got that thing done. And, and then you don't have it looming over your head.
This question's a little bit off topic, but I'm going to just kind of try and help answer it. It's over on Instagram, and then we'll come back to some of these questions on Facebook. This is my first holiday having a product. Congratulations on starting your business. And it's refrigerated plant-based cookie dough. Because of the type of product I have, do you think I would see an increase in sales during the holidays? So I'd love to ask our product bosses, especially those of you that have worked with us before, do you think she'll see an increase in sales for the holidays?
100%.
Yeah, 100%. But I do want you to go through Rock Your Holiday Promotions with us, Mix Makery, because what we do in Rock Your Holiday Promotions, which starts September 13th. So if you sign up for the workshops, you're automatically invited. You're automatically in, right? So you don't have to do anything else. If you're not in the workshop, sign up, or you can sign up at rockyourholidaypromotions.com. But come to the workshops because why not get more free training? We're going to talk to you then about your plant-based cookie dough, for example, and how should you promote it? What can you promote? What bundles can you create? How do you hype your products up around the holiday season?
Why will people buy it, right? Why, people buy what they see, but how are you going to present it?
Right. Kimberly over on Facebook says lots of people like to make cookies as a tradition during the holidays or just because it is. It's a time that we eat more junk than we junk food. But like there's baking, you're staying inside, there's the scents and smells of the season, there's holidays, there's like things that you need to bring to schools, or I don't know how that's all going to work. But let's say in a hypothetical non-COVID world, right? There's like bake sales and parties and all the things. So they're going to need
There's
it.
hot cocoa, there's warm milk, there's, marshmallows, all of that too with our senses. And a lot of times food is love for people. That's what it is for me. And that's kind of like the season of food and love and gathering and all those things. So it will definitely have an uptick, I feel like, especially refrigerated plant-based ones. People are always looking for a healthier alternative to cookies and things that they, are eating more of during the time.
Yeah. And Stina says, I have a cookie business and do-it-yourself kits are one of the best sellers during the holidays. We actually have an entire part in Multi-Stream Machine of marketing ideas that we really pulled together a lot of those do-it-yourself kits. Because last year, it was almost this renaissance, and do-it-yourself kits weren't the big thing. And then all of a sudden people created renaissance. They created do-it-yourself kits, jewelry, baking. Restaurants did it, right? You can cook at home and we're going to give you all the ingredients. Even Whole Foods has dinner kits now competing with the subscription boxes. So I love that advice for her. Okay. Over here on Facebook, let me see. Dawn says, hey, Dawn. Dawn says, what are some things I can actively do to change my mindset when I have a mindset that's keeping me back? So hers specifically is not sharing things I sell in my Facebook group. I share other stuff just fine.
Not sharing what was it? Not sharing
her stuff that she sells in her Facebook group.
Oh, she doesn't like to sell.
Mm-hmm. Who here doesn't like to sell? Do you feel salesy, or that you don't like to be the salesperson of your product? Let us know.
Yeah. So there's not a magic thing that happens mindset is a thing. It's a process, just like any sort of I'm a big believer in therapy. Therapy is not a cure. It is a process. You go through it, you go through the mindset things, you go through a whole bunch of stuff, and you just always have to do it. It's not like a light switch, though there are like light switch moments, you still have to keep at it because you end up reverting back to some of those mindsets when you're in fight or flight, right? So like if you're feeling really chaotic and you're like the sky is falling, you revert back to those instinctive thoughts a lot of times. So if you're in a situation where you're very uncomfortable, like trying to sell something, you get all these thoughts in your head because you're like, oh my gosh, I feel you kind of get that surge of fight or flight in your body. And so this is a ongoing process, but you have to know that the goal is to sell and that selling is not a bad thing. I think that's the switch that needs to happen in your head, is that there probably is something where you put the two together of selling is bad. And selling is not bad.
Or someone said that it's a necessary evil, right? To even associate the word evil and sales together is already putting this like mindset block in your brain of like, it's not good to sell. So I think it's important to go back and think through like why, like what negative associations do you all have that selling is negative, selling is bad, selling feels salesy. Are you in business, or are you in a hobby that you like to gift the things that you make? That's my question. Because the thing is like if you've created your business and the products that you've created, you've done it because you feel like there is a need in the market that other people want what you sell, right? Do they want like Dawn making, yarn and stuff, right? Like she does hand-dyed yarn that like is for geeks and nerds. It's her terminology, not ours. So when she does that, it's like because people want to be seen in that knitting community, for example, and they like her sense of humor, and they like that she's seeing them, that she's like, oh, I see you out there and I have stuff for you.
They resonate with her.
Mm-hmm. So you're actually serving your customers by presenting to them, here's what I have, and these are all the benefits around it for you, customer. And if you want it, this is the way to get it. So if you can kind of take it out of your brain of being like, someone said the MLMs make you feel like listen, MLMs There's a
They
whole
teach in
other
a different way.
yeah. That's okay. People make a lot of money in that way. And like
Mhm.
that structure is its own structure. And you're not an MLM. You're a small business owner that has products to sell.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that a lot of times we think that people think that way, but they don't. We think that way about ourselves. So you have to find somebody that you see doing similar things. Look around. Everybody's selling tons of stuff. All these people in the product biz community are selling their tails off, and people love it. They love it. They want the things they're selling. They love it. You're not in your mind thinking, Dawn, are you thinking, I can't believe she's selling her goods? I can't believe she's showing up in our Facebook group.
How dare she tell
How,
me all about
yeah,
her products?
yeah. How dare she allow me to be here in this Facebook group and try to sell me something
I mean,
that
if she feels
is
that
her
way,
own, that she made with her own hands, you know? So most people don't think that way. We just think that they think that way. And so you need to find somebody that you can be like, oh, this person does it really well. I like the way that she sells. And then you do the same things. Like you do similar things. Like you show up how that person does. You show up, because then it kind of like, we are our own worst critic. There's so many times where like, even when I was starting to do video, I would be like, I need to take that down. Like I would do it. I would get that surge of, courage. I'd post it. And then I'd be like, oh my gosh, the things that people must be thinking. Listen to my voice. I say like so many times, my voice, especially my cackle, my laugh, all those
did you
things.
say like before you met me?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
the
good.
whole
So you're a
world
Valley girl
was
from
like,
Iowa. Okay, good.
yeah. And the thing is, nobody else thought that. It was
even if
just
they did,
me. Yeah. Even if they did, I'm not for them. Not everybody is for you. That's just 100% the truth. The people that really get annoyed of you will leave, thank goodness, because you don't, whatever, they can find their people. And then the people that like you will stay for who you are. And that's really what you want. So I think it's just one of those things where, you might feel that way going in there and selling, but people don't feel that way at all. And if they do, they can leave, because how dare they be in your Facebook group for free and feel like they should never be sold to? I mean, there takes time and energy to go into that Facebook group, right?
yeah. And I think that's, so going back, Dawn had said, and I think we kind of helped her get to an aha moment. And I think this is really big because we worked with Dawn for a very long time and we never really got to this. But she said, my dad sold Amway when I was a kid and he was always bugging friends and family that didn't want it. So she probably felt shame and embarrassment of like, oh, like dad's trying to do it again and they just don't want to be bothered. And so maybe that's something that's resonating with her. I'll tell you that we all have parental issues. And I remember when I first started my business, I was like, am I like, this is like really intimate, but like, am I like stealing from people, like offering my services for this amount of money is how I used to feel. Like, am I worth it? Like, should I be charging less? Like, is this too much that I'm charging them? Like, am I hosing them? Like, these are all the thoughts in my head. I mean, at some point after all those thoughts kind of went away, people were paying me $10,000 a month to work for them. So like, this is like it was a mindset shift because I was like, no, what I do has value to it and they need it. And it's helped people build businesses and start their, dreams. So I think there's a mindset thing. And then I always want you guys to think back to and say, where does that come from? Are those my thoughts or are those thoughts from like when I was a 5-year-old or 10-year-old that I'm bringing forward, but that's not who you are right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me too, like, I was always hesitant to sell, not because like somebody said their dad sold Kirby and then somebody, it was Amway. Is the reverse for me. I was always taught that you don't sell things. You're generous because you give it away for free. You're considered generous. And so I've always felt like, oh, I want to be a generous person. And I associated the two of value and generosity with charging people. And so that is kind of like we all have our own mindset issues around all these different things, right? But then I realize is that people do have to pay you in order to how do I want to say this? Money gives you options. Okay. Money gives you options. So I, for example, have more options because I charge people to pay me and I can help more with more options. And so I was I really needed to make that flip in my mind that I was worth this certain amount of money. And with money, I've seen it. Even the riches of the rich people, they have the wealthiest people, they have the most options in the world. And then I was coming from a world where I only had limited options because I was very poor and my parents were refugee immigrants, coming from nothing. So I had to like flip that in my own mind that generosity still meant that I could live in this other world, charge people, but it would actually make me more generous because I could help more because
Mhm.
I'm just have more options, So I think I hope that I explained that correctly in the thinking, but I think that we all have those issues of selling. And the bottom line is that you have to be able to sell. It's a skill that you need to develop, and it's a muscle that you have to keep working and working and working. And it's a good thing. You need to be able to sell so you can bring money into your household, so you can contribute to the local economy, so you can put your kids through school, so you can close the generational wealth gap of your own family. Whatever it is that you see it comes in that form, you know?
And I think it's important to first think, Mina and I have had this conversation. If you listen to our episode with Jamie Kern Lima of It Cosmetics, she was on the podcast and she had this huge why as to why she started It Cosmetics, like huge, deep. She wanted, women to be represented, multiple skin colors, different faces and like normal women. And so she always hooked on to that when things got tough, when the bank account was super low, like when she was, working all the hours, and she had this deeper, like rooted reason why. When Mina and I had our own personal discussion about it, and I don't have to share specifically what it is, to be honest, when we were having this discussion back then, a lot of it was like, it's not it was personal, right? Our why at first is personal, and for all of
Mhm.
you, your why can be personal until it's not. So if, as you're building this, you have a bath bomb business, you sell pottery, you make jewelry, and you're like, it's not like so that I represent women all around the world with my, with the way
It
that
doesn't
they,
have to be that grand,
yeah,
you know?
if it's I want to leave my full-time job, or I want to put away a college savings because I worked my way through school and my parents weren't able to provide that for me and I want to do it for my kids. Or I don't know, something frivolous. I want to buy myself, I don't know, I want to go on a real fancy vacation. I think at first, maybe not everyone agrees with us, but at first, you might feel like it's selfish, but it's self-serving because this is your business. And why are you doing it? You left a full-time job or you started this business for a reason, which might have been that you don't want to work for someone else. You want freedom in your schedule. You want the ability to make unlimited amounts of money because you truly can, and allow that to be the thing that first sets you off. So with Dawn or whoever else feels like, I don't want to be salesy, you're spending all of this time making your beautiful products. And if it's not serving your customers and then in return serving you and your family, what's the point? So
Yeah.
feel that selfishness and don't feel guilty about it. Feel like this is because here's the thing. When Mina and I started the Product Boss, it was our 1 day a week side business, side hustle. Let's just try it out.
Let's start a podcast. We should do masterminds. It literally was like a sequence of decisions that led to this.
It's 100% a sequence of decisions that led to this. Now it's like all the days of our week, and we still have our other businesses. But when we started back then, we worked the first like 10 months, maybe like we didn't pay ourselves. Maybe we pulled like $1,000 and went and bought something with it. It was like we enjoyed it more. It was not a hobby, but we enjoyed it more than the money because we weren't really making money yet. Like we had a little bit.
But our families weren't dependent on it before either.
Correct. We had our other businesses that our family, paid our bills, and it was kind of our fun, kind of like spending money. I forget what one of the first things is that we'd spend our money to go see each other, really. Like that was, and pay for like education. We bought courses and we went to live events, for example.
Yeah.
So some of you might be in that place right now where like the weight of your family and your home income isn't relying on your business, which is fine. Some of you might be feeling like this is the thing that does pay my bills. So Mina and I went from that position of like it not needing to pay the bills to oh, we're making money and we're actually building a savings. Like her and I started building a savings to where we are now. Lauren, how many people are on our team? Like in this year, we have now employed at least 15 people. So over the year of 2020, and they're global, and over the year of 2020 and then 2021, when people were laid off of jobs, when other businesses were shutting down, we were actually able to hire people that also have their own teams sometimes, because some of them are contractors, some of them are not, and then give them jobs. And we've donated money. We've supported we've supported some product bosses and some things that really needed to happen. We are actually investors in a business. All of
guess
this,
how we've done it. We
by
sold our
selling.
asses off. Like, going
but
back to
trying
the
not to be
selling thing.
salesy, but in like, how can this
No,
help
in a
you?
genuine way. That's the thing, right? We're selling, and it's not like I'm not making any excuses about the fact that we sold our butts off, because we made people millions of dollars, if not hundreds, if not thousands.
Yeah,
if
we
not
haven't
tens.
calculated, but millions of dollars have been made.
We
for
do
other
free
businesses.
challenges. We do free workshops. We definitely help people make money, and they have to sell. And then they get more options, just like we have more options now with how we spend our money, And so I really think that it comes down to the fact that be around people that know how to sell, but also are okay with you selling, because you need to sell. Like, it's not a dirty word. Money is not a dirty word in our community. Looking at numbers is not anything bad. Selling is not anything bad, So I want you to really think about that you don't have to excuse yourself with, oh my gosh, I need to. This is a woman thing for sure. I've never actually met a man that excused himself of making a certain amount of money, where like a lot of the women that I meet are like, well, I donate a lot of it. I've helped this. Where a man's not like, oh, I'm VP. Like I worked with VPs in the banking industry. I had to do presentations for corporate
They didn't
annual
make up
reports.
excuses for like where they decided to spend their money.
Right. They took their bonuses, they took their money, and they would never be like, well, I'm really, I know I'm in this position, but I help in the community, or I'm really philanthropic, or whatever else, And so I want you to remember that you get to spend your money however you want, but you still have to make the money too. And selling is selling something you worked on, connecting it with the customer, giving something that they want, because people base their purchases off of desires. Like they're like, oh, it's an emotional decision a lot of times. And so you have to, you're selling them something they want. So when Jacqueline and I are saying that we built this business, we're able to pay employees, we've gotten more options because we built our business to this certain point, but it is because we've sold something that we're really proud of, and we're proud to sell it, and we're going to sell it all day long, all night long, essentially. We show up for it, And so I think you have to just embrace the fact that it is selling, but in a different way than you've ever thought of.
I want you all to think about something that you've bought that has either helped you, right? Something you're like, ooh, this is a really like helpful tool, gadget. It could be a blender, or like a new toaster, or a vacuum,
a label printer that's changed your life.
A label printer, which we're giving away one to those of you who share.
And it is new, by the way. That was a joke yesterday. Not everybody gets my humor.
So I want you all to think about something that you bought that was helpful to you. And how you felt, like, even if it's a thing that you were like, this is going to cost a lot of money, like vacuums for me was always
an emotional purchase.
You have a Roomba, for example. That is an expensive.
Oh my gosh. Pet. We love him. He is our son, which is seriously our joke. His name is Cleanie. We call him the girl's brother. They have to pick up, and then he cleans for them. And so,
what a helpful little brother.
But he really is.
So all of you think about, I just want you to first in your brain as a consumer, think about something you've purchased that maybe was a push. Like maybe you're like, oh, this is expensive, but it was a tool that you bought yourself, or something helpful at home that you spent money on. Okay. Now, are you like the business that sold it to you? Or are you thinking, well, how dare they sell me that Roomba? How
Mhm.
dare they tell me how effective this Roomba is going to be and how helpful it's going to be to clean up after me? Okay, so there's that one feeling. Okay, Nespresso machine for Erica, right?
I love that.
So then let's switch to something that you've desired, something that you've really, really wanted that maybe you've saved up for, and that you're like, I really want to buy this. I have enough money. For me, I bought myself a Gucci bag this summer.
Mhm.
Actually, I bought myself 2 Gucci bags this summer, partially because they were discounted. Because I love a
Mhm.
good sale, but nonetheless, right? So something that I really wanted it because my theme when I ran my business for the first 10 years on the wall in my office was Chanel is not going to buy itself. This is pre-kids. A Chanel bag for me was like the thing that I like. I was
But
like, I
also because you're a fashion designer by trade,
yeah,
you
it's just something I wanted.
yeah, you've always wanted that. For
Yeah.
me, it was an infrared sauna. I bought an infrared sauna. It's still not put together yet to be put together, but I bought it. It's downstairs in our basement and it's, amazing. So when I'm talking about this purchase, even to my sisters, my family, everything, they're like, oh my gosh, you bought a sauna, an
Yeah, you
infrared
did.
sauna. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm going to like put on deep conditioning in my hair. I'm going like I have all these plans for this sauna that my skin is going to be amazing, my hair is going to be amazing. And they at first were like taken aback a little bit because they were like, "Oh my gosh, you bought a sauna like it's coming on a freight truck." Like, because it's definitely a desire more than a need.
So think about
And
desires. Some of you might be like Ugg boots, right? Because those are
mhm,
expensive and you want them for the fall season. Like it could be something cheap. But if you think about something that's a desire, you don't absolutely need it, but it's something that you want, then are you mad at the businesses for selling you that? Like, are you mad at Yearly Co for selling us solid gold bangles? I'm not. Like,
I
thank
want
you.
more.
Yeah, like thank you for having those. Am I mad at like the company with this water bottle? No. So think about desire because what you're doing is by presenting your products to them, right? And they have desire to purchase what you sell. And
Mhm.
you do in the marketing and the playing of the round, all that, like you do have to create desire. You do have to show up. You do have to show it in use, which is why I know the team posted the 101 holiday content ideas, which is why we come up with content ideas for all of you, because it's the way of connecting. It's not being salesy. It's the way to talk
Yeah.
about your products. That's like, hey, look at all the features of this mug. Look how amazing the handle is. It's yellow. It's got this narrower brim, a wider bottom. Like it's weighted, and I love a good weighted mug. It carries a lot of coffee in here. If I'm telling you about all these beautiful features of this mug, you may then say to yourself, I kind of want that mug too. Right? Oh, I
Mhm.
desire that mug. And I'm
And
just
see
sharing with
the
you.
use, you
Right.
know?
And if
Um,
you want this, click the link in my bio. Right? You can't really, it's not in the bio, but like it's helpful.
those
I've
are
now made
gone.
it
Those are the
easy.
original mugs, okay, for Bosses and Breakfast. But I do want to say, like in the crafting world, because Dawn she's a fairy tale yarn co. She's an indie dyer. She hand dyes her yarn. There's a little bit of things that happen in the crafting world. I was a scrapbooker. I bought everything and anything. What's happening here too is that I think she's having imposter syndrome about being an artist because she hand dyes her yarn and she has to talk about it, and she has to sell it because she made it with her hands. She's a maker. So like selling it, making it feel like it's worthy. And I think for you, Dawn, I think you have to realize that people want the stuff that you're selling. They want it. And there is a ton of people out there in the world that don't want to and absolutely do not know how to hand dye their yarn. So I want to give the example of yesterday when I was doing this workshop and I kept having imposter syndrome because I was like, is this enough to teach people? Will they find it worth it, even though it's free? But Jacqueline and I, we like to give lots of value. And I was getting those feelings. And then Lauren, our team, was like, I think they've had a lot of aha moments because not everybody thinks this way, right? Not everybody thinks this way. So I was able to give that to them. But in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, totally, is this too simple? Just like Dawn is like, I'm talking about these, but do they think that this is silly, or do they think that this is, whatever? You have to just know that not everybody has the talent that you do. Not everybody wants to test and try it because, whatever, and just sell it because they want it and they want you to shortcut them getting it, and they desire what you have.
Yeah. So that's a good place to wrap it for today. I know there were a couple other questions, but what I want you all to do is and we talked about two things, scheduling and time, and really being flexible. Head to theproductboss.com/free to still opt into the workshops. You get the replay from yesterday's. You can come live with us over the next couple of weeks. Plus, we have Rock Your Holiday Promotions Challenge right around the corner. And then the second part of this, which Dawn, thank you for inspiring us, was this mindset shift of selling and feeling like you're being salesy. And so hopefully this resonated with you. If you do want help, we do have that 101 content ideas. I'll have the team drop that into the comments one more time. But it's, I could say it out loud too, like on Instagram, maybe you all could drop that into the comment there as well so they can access it. And it's probably in the link in our show notes, but it's holidaycontentideas.com. And, just try it, put yourself out there and see where you end up. Cause like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Someone leaves, right?
Yeah. I mean, thank goodness, right? Because they weren't meant for you.
Yeah. And it's okay. And put yourself out there. Listen, Mina still freaks out when her family like pops on live. She's like, oh my God, they're watching, right?
I literally hope they're not watching right now.
but and I think sometimes that's it too, right? Being your person in your business world in front of people that you know. And that might, and that's the thing and we don't really tell you, we tell you friends and family, but that's not where we necessarily want you to go make your sales, even though that's usually a place
usually where people start. Yeah. All the time. The goal is always to get beyond that, it's a concentric circle. So getting beyond that core circle of friends and family, you move past those people. But friends and family are good for feedback. But just remember, I just did a reel on this last night, is that they're not usually your ideal customer. That's why when you're trying to sell them Amway, if they don't see it for their lives, they're not ideal for that product. They're not ideal for that business, for example, even in that case.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, friends, thank you for being with us. We'll see you next Tuesday at the free workshop series. Again, that's theproductboss.com/free. We'll see you then Wednesday for Bosses and Breakfast, and, hang out with us on Instagram. One more thing. If you do, it's going to end tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. But if you did go live with us or you watch the replay and you take a photo of you watching the workshop series and share it on Instagram and tag at the Product Boss, we are doing a giveaway for a Dymo printer.
And it's not this exact one because it will be a new one sent to you from Amazon. But I literally love it.
We're going to save you time and money with getting that. And then you get an extra bonus submission if you leave us a podcast review, screen grab it and share it. You can share it in our Facebook community under #podcast review, or tag us on social media as well and share it with us. And then you'll be entered to win twice. And we're going to draw the person's name tonight after 7 p.m. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.